And I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and get started. This whole thing is being recorded, um, and we'll of course post this to the website. Um, for anyone just tuning in after the fact, welcome. Today on our Lead and Learn webinar, we're going to be talking about just overcoming the industry challenges. It's a big topic. I'm sure we're not going to solve all the world's problems today, but for anyone new, the purpose of these Lead and Learn webinars is to provide a platform for our members to share innovative ideas, insights, advice. Again, today's topic is a great example of why we're doing this. It is again the industry pain points, how to overcome them. And again, my hope for today, again, not to solve the world's problems, but to be an opportunity to really tap into the collective wisdom and experience of those on the call today. And just to serve as a gentle reminder that we are part of a greater community, that IFRA is really a network of industry professionals that do have a wealth of knowledge and experience that we should encourage to tap into more and more. So that being said, welcome to everyone that's joined. Again, today it'll be kind of an open conversation, open dialogue. So before we even dive into the root of the issue, let's go back. Since COVID, we've seen so many unique challenges between supply chain, having too much inventory, then not enough inventory, and then having the wrong inventory. On a macro level right now, we're living in a world where, one, it's an election cycle. For our retail partners out there, it's very difficult and expensive to advertise because of the election cycle. We're dealing with an economy that feels like it's in a bit of a slowdown. A few weeks ago, when I went to Washington, D.C. with a group of industry professionals who were there to advocate for our industry, we learned that it on average it costs the average American about $11,000 more annually to just break even on the year. So the economy is kind of going through a rough patch. We have higher interest rates than we've experienced in a number of years. Weak housing market. So just generally speaking, how have all these issues that we're facing impacted y'all, like on a personal level, your book of business, where you live in your area? So if you guys want to jump in, again, this is open dialogue here. So maybe when you jump in, tell us who you are, where you come from, what your role in the industry is, and what you're seeing out there. So open it up to anybody who wants to start.
Well, I'll start it, guys. I think my name is Michael Neros. I'm up in Michigan, um, president of the HFRM chapter up here, and I really appreciate Steve reaching out and putting these little sessions together. He said collectively as a group, we all have one goal ultimately, and that's to help our dealers do business, grow, become profitable. And for sure, without a question, most of the dealers that some of us are calling on, or a lot of them, I'm sure, the biggest challenge, Steve, that I'm seeing out there is their traffic, the customer coming to the store, and really trying to improve that option, that ability to write more sales, to do more business, to talk to more consumers. Versus a year ago, I understand traffic is down nearly 16%, and that's a significant drop. Transactions are down almost the same, and the transactions that are being done are up modestly 4 or 5%, which hardly covers the inflation that we've had. But I think the dealers that are successful are the ones that are clearly utilizing social media as much as possible, working their websites, and of course providing great service in their communities. And as a rep that calls on a variety of stores, I always like to see how the store presents, the basics of running a good operation. Is it properly displayed? Does the furnishings, are they tagged correctly?
Michael, thank you so much for sharing that insight. And just quick follow-up question to that. Do you find that there is a bit of a secret sauce, or is that kind of the tried and true recipe for most retailers? Is that kind of the what works best is being on social, having an active website, properly displaying things in the store? And the follow up question to that is, have you changed your selling style? You know, I hear all the time you've got to be a consultant, not a salesman. Is that what's working for you?
For sure. The latter that you just said, the consultant. I know Ted Weisbach is probably one of the best mentors in the field out here that I know, and how he communicates with his dealer base, and just the fundamentals of communications is so important. And a lot of it has to do with being available when a store owner or an RSA needs help or support or has a question. Answer your phone is an automatic. I don't care if it's Saturday or Sunday afternoon. If I get a phone call from a dealer, I'm taking the call. Now, I may be old school about that. And I don't really like hearing about when I talk to a store owner and how he says his staff or he has called a particular rep and hasn't heard from them. That's on us as an organization too. I think, to prove that we're there, but sometimes it's not the case. But more importantly, circling back to the dealer's viability and view and presentation in a community, in an area, a metropolitan area. Um, I have some stores that are doing a wonderful job in how the stores are built and laid out. They're advertising everything they do, and they're still struggling to do business. So it's a challenge right now, Steve, to get consumers in certain operations and certain storefronts to have that opportunity to work with the client, build an order,
Okay.
and get some commerce happening.
Steve,
Okay.
I've got
Yeah. No, I agree. Go ahead, Jay.
hi, this is Jay Rue. I live in Richmond, Virginia. Been a rep a long time. And I'm always curious when I talk to reps as to how they manage their business and keep track of their customers. Is that something we could address on this conversation? Would you mind, Steve?
Certainly fine with me. I mean, again, it's we've got some reps on the call that are I think some of the best out there. So, I mean, are we talking like, do we or do you as a rep use or maintain some sort of like CRM system or some sort of technology piece that plays into it to track kind of the interactions, and or elaborate on your question, and maybe the reps on the call could better address it, or the other
Currently, I
reps on the
use
call could better address it.
currently I use Outlook to keep track of my customers, but Outlook is really not a good CRM. And I just don't want to go back to creating a spreadsheet and using that because that's even worse. And I don't know if anyone's using, I've looked at a lot of CRMs. They seem to be either too simple or too complicated. And I've been looking one that kind of hit that sweet spot that accomplishes our goals, which is to have a simple way to track customer contact and do follow up, better than Outlook, and not as complicated as something like Salesforce. Nor do I want to spend that kind of money. And I don't know if anyone has a solution that they have found or are currently using that they'd care to share. I would like to know.
Well,
Sure.
for example,
Yeah.
Jay, one of the companies that I rep, they have the back end of their portal is remarkable just for that. They give us all the tools we need and all the reports. We can go through this a la carte and find the format, the data that we need. So I think a lot of it, depending on the vendor that you're representing and how well designed their sales information is, really can give you some shortcuts to keeping up with your customers, your dealer, your year-to-date business, categorically what they're selling. Um, Cost of doing business is provided, all those critical features. I mean, outside of that, I rely for my two main lines. Both of them have great back end data sharing and sales information that's relative to what I do in the field with that dealer, with that brand.
Well, Mike, let me ask you a specific question, if you don't mind
Sure.
sharing. Um, I I have accessory lines, so I do a lot of designer business. I have a lot of customers across my bag, and sometimes I have a difficult time remembering to call on this particular customer in 45 days, or to follow up in 2 months on this line with this customer. Do you not have those problems? Is there a way that you're tracking all of that? Or, I mean, some reps don't have 2, 3, 400 active accounts. You know, some might have 50 and they can do it in their head. So I'm not sure. I guess that's what I was asking. If you have a lot of customers, how do you do your follow up, track them, and stay in touch?
I see. Well, personally, Jay, the goal is being available, number one. And yeah, there's the days of the milk runs, as we know, are long gone. I don't have.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go.
Steve.
Sorry to interject. I was going to say just one tool that came to mind, Jay, just as a suggestion, it might be worth looking into, and it can have a cost associated with it. There is a free version, but one tool that we used for a little while was called HubSpot, HubSpot.
Okay.
It's a great CRM. It's the CRM portion of the product is free. I see JT shaking his head. He's familiar with it. I'm gonna say that's a step in the right direction. Seeing that he's probably the youngest person on this call, if he's given us a nod of approval, I think we're on the right track. But one thing that I loved about HubSpot is, again, the CRM is free. I think up to maybe 1,000 contacts, but you can automate a ton with that platform. And if you need to get into like mass marketing and things like that, then that's where the cost can really ramp up. But for the most part, most of the simple tools or the basic tools are free and included, but you can set up automations, reminders, tasks. It's a really great, really robust system, and definitely worth looking into.
Is JT online and want to give us some feedback?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say for someone who doesn't want to have any sort of third parties involved for and not needing any sort of admin to kind of run the systems for you, I think HubSpot and Pipedrive are the two CRMs that I would recommend. They're very intuitive, very easy to set up. And like Steve said, they have they both have very entry level packages where up to X amount of contacts, it's pretty much free. And then if you want to kind of slowly upgrade into those more developed feature, kind of functionality feature set, it does have small fees, but again, they kind of slowly raise the fees up, so you can go from free. The next CRM level, I think, is maybe $40 or $60 a month for like their starter packages, and it kind of does everything you need in the free version, which is being able to schedule your task for if you want to schedule a follow-up call with somebody. You can log all your call notes in there. If you have the email add-on, you can track all of your emails to each account that you have, so you don't have to search through all your Gmails. If you want to log that to an account, you can go in and say, okay, I sent XYZ emails to this contact. And it's just a really easy way of keeping track of everything. I think out of all the options, HubSpot is probably the way to go if you can get familiar with it.
Do you use Outlook for anything?
I personally don't use Outlook. I'm more of a G Suite kind of guy.
Okay.
I use everything Google. Even Google has built-in task management. So if you wanted to, within G Suite, you can have contacts in Google, and then you can have tasks that are linked to certain certain contacts, and that's free as well.
Okay. Thank you, JT. Where do you live?
I'm out of Philadelphia.
All right.
Hey, Steve.
Yes, sir.
So I think one of the things I discovered is I used Outlook for probably 15 years as the center of my, structuring my days, my weeks, my months. And I found that it was just a real drag. I found I was spending so much time on Outlook that I was more serving Outlook than Outlook was serving me. And what I did is I just sort of took a step back and I looked at some of the technology in my phone and that was available to me that I just simply wasn't using. So with just simply using your calendar, if you put all of your appointments in your calendar into your phone, which I know for the older folks sounds like a lot of work. For the younger folks, it's intuitive. You're gonna have that reminder. It's gonna send you reminders of your appointments. It's gonna flash up a day before. You can set all sorts of settings. There's a lot of technology available to us in our phones and our devices that we simply don't access. So before you go off and join, just sign up for some of these CRMs and look at what you're not using in your phone. Maybe go to Apple and spend an hour with one of their people if you're not an Apple guy.
Why is it clicking?
Talk to some of the other people at these places that they'll open up a world to you that's already available to you. And I started using my constant contact information as my database. I used to just have emails and names in there. Now I started filling out there's a whole area in their contacts area that for $22 a month you get a great array of the ability to communicate, but also a good database that you own. It's exportable. It's easy to send. It's easy to edit. It's easy to add to, because if you get a database, you can just simply upload that and it's going to organically take out the duplicates. There's a lot on that constant contact, and I'm sure MailChimp is similar, that for $20 to $25 a month gives you a really great database that you can own and access and save easily. So I've sort of torn down some of the old stuff I was using and went to sort of see what I wasn't using that was already available to me. And there was a lot of stuff in there that I'm already paying for, I've already bought, but I'm just not using it. And now I'm out there looking for that same stuff that I already have.
Okay, thanks, Ted.
Jay, this is Ted Weisbach. I know
Yes,
we know
sir.
each other.
Yes, we do, Ted.
I personally use Constant Contact for a lot of my communication to the customers, just like Jeff does. And I've been using it for a number of years now. And I also use my calendar on my phone as well. And it seems to provide everything. The other nice thing about it, and I don't know if you're an Apple guy or not, but with Apple, while I'm driving, if I just get off a call, I don't have to stop and write down. You can go to Siri, and they will post your next appointment. You don't even have to stop and write it down. It automatically, by voice recognition, you could add it to your calendar, and it will populate. The other program from a CRM standpoint that I used to use was a app called Cloze, CLOZE. And what that did, and it's not an expensive program, before I used Constant Contact, you could actually loop in your invites into that program and send them out on an individual basis, just like a Constant Contact will, but it'll keep track of appointments, last appointments, follow-ups, and whatnot.
I will take a look at that. So I'd like to share something that I've been doing for the last few years. I have a couple ladies that work for me part-time. They started as market helpers only. And then one of them, I asked her if she'd like to help me throughout the year, do some marketing, customer contact. And she said, sure. So she now works for me full-time, part-time. Both of them work for me full-time, part-time. And one of them has taken over a lot of my marketing chores. 'Cause I like to be out. I'm calling on customers as much as possible. And I find that, one, I learn a lot about what's going on and get a much better feel for business. And you learn new things, meet new people, find new customers. At least once a month when I'm driving down the road, I come across a store I didn't know was there. And I say, how could that happen? But it happens. Back to the ladies, one of them, I said, we probably need a website. I said, would you mind taking a look at GoDaddy and seeing how difficult it is? So within a week, we have a website. And GoDaddy is a reasonably priced, easy way to build a website. They've got a template. So all you have to do is put your information into it. And I find that customers go to it occasionally to come to me, or they find me by looking at my website. But talking about Constant Contact, I represent 4 quality companies, and we do e-blasts 2 a week from different companies. We just vary it, move around the chain. And I find that does occasionally I get a sale off it. But what I get is the awareness of who I am and what I do. And from that, we continue to gain business because they don't necessarily contact me directly, but they remember that they got a promo from Jay from D&W Silk Flowers, and they go to the website and send in an order. And it was because they got that e-blast from me a couple weeks ago. You know, because we cycle them, and we've been doing it now for a few years, it's starting to have an impact, and that is helping me grow my business, especially with designers and higher end independents. I've had a couple good shipping months back to back, and I credit it all to my designer trade. I mean, you may not sell designer goods, but they are a growing resource for new business. I'm telling you, if you're not selling designers and you have product that fits, you guys got to go after it, because they're no hassle. There's no drama. They just want what they want. They buy it. They pay for it. You go home and they contact you when they need something else. It's a good business to work in. I'm done.
Hey, Steve,
Yeah.
if I could throw one more thing in there, I about 6 months ago I signed up for Otter AI, and Otter AI is one of the AI companies that lets you have a free account, and it's just to play around with some of the marketing, and you know, when I want to come up with a newsletter or something. It's really a fantastic place to start if you want to get to know what AI can do. For example, every meeting I have, whether it's a Zoom meeting, whether it's a conference call, it gives me a transcription after the meeting in my email. So, for example, this meeting, I'll have, once we're done, a transcription of what we talked about. I don't have to take notes. It's really a good transcription. But every meeting I have, I get an automatic transcription just from that. And if you really want to get started to see what AI can do for saving you time and money, it's simply unbelievable what you can accomplish with AI. It's and we're not even that far into it, but I think the next thing for reps is there's not a retailer out there that doesn't think that AI is going to be a part of their life in some way. The manufacturers have already started incorporating it, everything from payroll to planning, a lot of things, even customer service. AI is already in their factories. It's coming to retail, and I think if the reps don't understand how AI works and aren't conversant in it, they can't be good. Partners to their retailers. So it's a great place to start if you want to get in the AI world a little bit. Sign up for. I recommend Otter. I'm sure there's other people out there, other brands out there you can access AI through.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jeff. That's a great call out. And Jay, thank you for sharing everything that you did. This has been great so far. Ted, can I shift over to you and just again, I know we've kind of talked about a lot of different things here, but you know, what is business like in your area? What are your retailers going through right now? How are you helping them? Anything else you want to add as far as best practices, advice, tips, tricks, anything like that? You know, we've heard everything from different apps to use or AI, which Jeff, I got to just share real quick. I mean, at IFRA, being such a small team in-house, yeah, AI has been a lifesaver. For those of you who know my dad, he's an excellent writer. That skipped a generation. So I can usually tell AI what I want to say and kind of the tone I want to use and the key points I want to make sure that I get across. and it can draft it up and sound just as good as Dad, which is crazy. But anyway, let me digress. Ted, share with us some some boots on the ground
You heard me
experience
said
of
that I
what's
had my
going
notes
on
taken.
and what you're doing.
Well, I've been traveling extensively when I'm not at market.
Okay.
And what I have found is the lower mid and lower promotional end of the business is suffering the most.
Right.
As Jay said, the designer end of it is not hurting because it's project driven. So depending on your communication with that facet of the marketplace is probably the best thing that you can do is check with them. And, by AI sending a letter, constant contact, keeping your name in front of them with your product lines is important. The other thing is if you analyze the territory that you have and the seasons that they go through, that has helped me immensely in the last month and a half, meaning that the areas that have done the most amount of business within the last month and a half have been lake or coastal or resort areas, as opposed to the inner city. The inner city business, as I've experienced, I don't know if anybody else is, I cover 4 states, is the area that has the most dense population, but also is not at this particular point in time so sales driven because of interest rates and the real estate market. The other thing that I find is that I never go in with anything these days. Not a briefcase, not an iPad, my phone's in my back pocket. I'm there mainly to communicate and to check on people and how they're doing and their status. And once you get that done, they are not on the defensive. When you walk in with your briefcase and an iPad and your pens in your pocket and everything else, it waves a red flag to a lot of the people because they're down and they're not feeling the emphasis on business. They're worried about business. So, if there's any business to be had, it might come that way through the back door as opposed to the front door, coming in to sell as opposed to just coming in and checking on them. The other thing I always check with them is, how are they advertising? Have they changed their advertising? What is working? What is not working? They'll ask me, what is working in your other parts of your territory? And, you can be free, about information because everybody else is asking the same question. It's not a good time right now in our industry, but it's not a bad time either. It depends on how you approach it.
Well, one piece of common ground that I found, or that I'm hearing from everybody, is still got to show up, still got to answer the phone. How does that saying go? Half the battle is showing up, or 80% of it is showing up, and then the last 20% is just pure skill and talent and willpower. But I think you're right. I think going in and not coming in with asking for an order, you're kind of disarming them already, and you're there to check on them. You're there to be a trusted advisor and a consultant and an ally. So it changes their tone, and just like everyone has said so far, it's just being present and keeping your name, keeping your ideas at the top of mind. And the other consistent that I've heard is marketing. How are they marketing? How are they advertising? Or what are they doing to keep their name out there? Just like Jay is, making sure that he's e-blasting several times a week, and you guys are reaching out to your customers and being present. How are they showing up to their end consumers?
Steve, that's one thing I wanted to touch on real quick, if I could.
Please.
The one thing I've noticed so far in the last 3 months is that a lot of a lot of companies that fall between that $1 and $10 million revenue mark. Everyone is trying to market themselves as if they are an enterprise company like Ashley or Raymore and Flanagan. They're all trying to kind of mimic the advertising strategies that they're all taking on, when you can't. You just can't do that. You don't have the power behind you, the revenue spend or the ad spend to try and to copy that same strategy. And so a lot of people that I've been working with, they all kind of try to adopt that. And I have to go in there and say, guys, you're not going to be able to match the power they're putting out. We got to kind of slow things down. You have to, they take a mass approach, and they're doing one to many. When you're a smaller company like that and you don't have the brand awareness behind you, you kind of have to take a step back and say, okay, how can I build a rapport with my customer? You have to kind of build, you got to slowly build up and nurture the leads that you are getting, instead of just being able to market to a mass. So what I'm finding working now, well, before I go into that, so that taking a different approach than an enterprise level company, and two would be too many companies are they're changing too many of the variables and not keeping enough of a constant to where they might change up. They might add 3 different new items to a strategy, and something will change, but they have no idea. Like, it'll change for the better, but because they added 3 new items into the mix, they have no idea which one of those 3 had a positive impact on their marketing. So a lot of companies right now are changing too many variables, and they don't have enough of a constant to where you're not able to measure the impact of what each specific item had on your business. So, for example, if you're spending a total of say $10,000 a month in marketing, and just theoretically you're splitting that 50-50 between Google and then say Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, right? Say you increase your Google budget by 30%, and you increase your Meta budget by 30%, and then you add email marketing to the mix, and overall your revenue went up about 15-20%. You have no way of capture or measuring which channel all that attribution came from. So what I've started to do now with a lot of my clients is I'm saying, okay, guys, we're changing one variable at a time. Keep the constant as steady as possible. Change one variable. If it has a negative impact, obviously, you know what caused it. If it has a positive impact, you know what caused it. And then once we find that one kind of variable that had that positive impact, then we slowly start to scale that. And then we know that's the constant. So as we're scaling that variable, we add other variables in there. And what we might have raised the budget in one spot 20% and it grew our revenue 10-15%, we know that, okay, now we're going to add another variable into the mix, and that might compound the growth on top of the other variable that we know is working. I don't know if that got to did that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. Don't reinvent the wheel all at the same time. Change one thing so you can actually measure the result, right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of that, what was just mentioned, it goes back to what I had said a bit earlier. On one dealer, a store owner, the amount of time they're going to put into their social media campaigns, no matter what aspect it is of it, that is just such a critical function of their day-to-day functioning, and it falls on us too to do the same, to help them and to like send out those promotions, those specialty things to our dealers that can use these items, like Jay was saying, and the constant contact specials or the promotions of a specific item. I mean, and again, it all falls down, I think, to more than anything, being there, being present, and to know that the dealer, you have that dealer's back, or you have that designer's back. You're there, as Ted said, walking in very much in a non-intimidating format. You're not bringing a shoulder bag in. You're not bringing your tablet in and other things. You're just going in there to communicate, introduce yourself, start a dialogue, and build that professional relationship. That's good stuff right there, I think, too. To hear that, being a veteran guy myself, and I still love this business, and I'm 60, going to be 64, but I'm working play like a 35-year-old, and love all aspects.
I can confirm that. Yeah.
But no, it's a great business that we're in, and I think a lot of our customers, whether they're retailers or designers, they're always looking for guidance and feedback and information that they can help build their business on, and how they can attract more people. And you come in as a guidance counselor almost in certain aspects. And we've all learned the importance of being very good listeners, and that's just a function of what we do. And so this is a good little seminar that we're doing here, guys.
Yeah. All right. I want to throw a curveball at you guys. I'm just curious to get your takes. We've got different parts of the country, different parts represented on this call, and I'm just curious. So you guys have talked a little bit about how you've had to change your approach, but are you seeing that your retailers are making these adjustments on the fly? That are they changing their assortment to be more designer focused or higher end, or tailored to the higher end market that seems to be a little bit more protected from the issues that are out there? Are you seeing your manufacturers change their approach? And one bit of feedback that I've heard from a lot of reps is that when times get tough, one of the negative side effects, we'll call it, is that reps are put into a position where manufacturers want reports every week about what are you doing, who did you see, what's going on. Like, how do you manage some of that? If you are experiencing that, how do you manage that additional workload while trying to be in a million places at once? While when the retailers are suffering, we're all commission-based employees here, so you're trying to operate in some cases with less, or maybe you're budgeting a little differently than you normally would. You're trying to be in more places than you normally would to leave no stones unturned, and then being required to do the extra busy work that these manufacturers throw at you. And that in itself, to me, like, I'm not trying to paint a grim picture here, but sometimes that's what other reps encounter. I'm just curious to get a feel for what you guys are experiencing, what the changes have been from the manufacturer's perspective, from the retailer's perspective, and how you've had to pivot.
Well, I have one company that demands that, Steve, and it's been like that for a while. It's part of the business climate, but we're a pretty dynamic company, and we do a lot of business. It's not Ashley, but yeah, certainly the pressure is on some manufacturers too to stay productive, to keep their employees right now because of the times that we are in. When you're a high velocity manufacturer of soft goods, you have a lot of factories, you have a lot of employees, you have a lot of things in the pipeline, you've got a lot of outlay. When you get into these larger manufacturers that are kind of built on building just doing a lot of velocity. So yeah, we have to manage the data input that we provide. It's a little challenging at times, there's no question about it, but it's part of the game. We're multifaceted in what we do, and I call this the big leagues. And at any given moment, let's face it, we also have to be very good at coming from an ex-pilot standpoint. You got to keep your eyes on the horizon and look ahead and think ahead and plan ahead in case something goes wrong. And that's what I do. I mean, I love doing what I do in the brands that I carry. But my philosophy is I want to be irreplaceable for my company. I want to be the best footing they have in this territory to do business. So with that comes a mindset. With that comes, being able to move quickly, diagonally, whatever you need to do, adjust. And we've had to do that the last couple of years since the coming out of COVID, right? And coming out of a particularly dynamic side of business where nobody could get anything delivered. And now, it's kind of polar opposite. You really have to work hard to find that business, to support that business, to plant it, to cultivate it, to keep it going, and to make sure that the dealers are profitable. And again, being a part of their business, a partner is what we call it.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael.
Yep.
Anyone else want to chime in or add to that?
Jay, you're muted.
Well, I'll just say that when times are slow in business, I find that's the best opportunity to one, cement relationships. Um, Dealers who lose deals right now are very sensitive about that. I mean, you cannot make mistakes, and furthermore, you have to make efforts with your manufacturers you represent. Make sure you're representing your retailers well to them. When something is out of stock or bedroom comes in without rails, things like that. Those are the minor issues. And when businesses are good, your retailers will let you float out, but they won't let you float today. And the way you really prove your worth as a rep is you solve problems. So you invite those phone calls, those credits that don't go through, or there's something that's been bothering them for a while that's been hanging out there that you didn't receive trying out a placement special. They want you to go to work for them, and they're more sensitive to the cash flow issues and delivery issues more than ever right now. And that's really what the most important part of the relationship is. They're going to continue to buy from you. They have their list. So just to reiterate, going in there with a bunch of stuff to sell them or what they promised you at market, things like that, it's counterproductive. If you're not in tune with the tenor of what's going on in their stores, which is they are doing business, but the business they have is more precious than ever. It's a more delicate situation. And you've got to go in there and prove that you are going to be their conduit to make sure that when that bedroom ships without the nightstand or the rails or whatever it is, that you're going to go ahead and solve those issues. Even if you don't have the power to solve the issues, you need to make the effort and document that effort back to the retailer, because that's where your value ultimately is. They don't need you to place orders. They can shop by themselves. They need you when there are these little things, and those little things are what we really get paid a lot for. I mean, in some ways we're underpaid, in some ways we're overpaid. And if I have to 4 or 5 times a year go to bat for a dealer on a credit or on a lost piece that didn't ship right, I'm making a lot of money just for those 4 or 5 times a year. I'm not, we do a lot more. We do training, we do merchandising help, we share best practices, but it's the little things right now that are really going to differentiate the good reps from the superior reps. And that's being in the trenches with your dealers.
Very well said, Jeff. Jay, was there anything you wanted to add?
I've been going through tunnels, and I think I've been going in and out, and this may have already been colored, but going back to staying in touch with the customers, we call a lot of people, those that haven't been active lately, buying stuff, people we would like to see, and we don't call them to ask them for an order. We ask them how they doing, how's business, what's going on. And like right now, I go to the Atlanta market, and it's very difficult to find out who shops at the Atlanta market. The market doesn't help with any lists. So we call a lot of people and say, after we do the howdy stuff, we ask them, are they coming to Atlanta? And if so, are they coming to see us? We spend a lot of time doing that. For High Point, I think we made a total of 400 phone calls. I know that takes a lot of time, but it does a couple of things. One, you find out if they're coming and if they put you on the list to stop by. And two, it puts you in front of them and puts you at the front of their brain rather than in the back of their brain, where the rest of the reps are sending emails and leaving messages. When you talk to them, they remember and they appreciate that personal touch.
That's right.
But you all may have already, you've all probably figured that out. So.
Well said, Jay. I mean, just from on a personal side note, I mean, I don't know about any of y'all having kids or grandkids or anything like that, but I mean, I know my 17 and 19-year-old stepsons, they would rather send a text than pick up the phone and talk to you. And those conversations do go a lot further. So
I,
Sorry, Jay. Was there something else you wanted to say?
No.
I know I interrupted you. I apologize.
no, go ahead, please.
No, that was it. Well, look, I know I was trying to keep this to about an hour, so I want to open it up for any other final, questions, comments, anything else that you guys would like to share, and then we'll call it a day.
Anybody else on the call coming to Atlanta?
Say again?
Anybody else on the call coming to Atlanta besides Steve and me?
I think Ted Weisbach is going. He was on with us, and I just saw a text from him. His signal dropped out, but I believe Ted Weisbach does attend Atlanta.
Yeah, I believe he does as well.
What do you think about having a get together somewhere, Steve? Of the guys that be interested in getting together and talking during the Atlanta market?
I'd be
Maybe
all
over
for it.
coffee.
I can. Yeah. Let's tell you what.
You know
I'm
where we
back in
might
the
do
office
it?
on Monday. We can do it. Go ahead.
You know, the Indigo Hotel has a nice restaurant on the ground floor as you come into the market.
Okay.
And they're not very busy, because most of us come in early. The market opens at 9 o'clock. A lot of us come in between 8 and 8:30 before the rush.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could, get together, have a cup of coffee there. I mean, you could probably come to, I would ask permission first, but you could probably come to one of my showrooms and we could meet there. Or you might have a site already, available on your end, and send out an invitation. Anybody wants to get together, we'll get together in Atlanta for a half-hour conversation before the market. We should all be working together because we're working on disposable income that, we're way down on that list of what they need to spend the money on. So although we compete, there's plenty of business out there to be had. What we want to do is grow the overall business together. Just a thought.
That's right. No. That's right. That's exactly it. While everyone competes, while we're all competitors in some form or another, we're all part of the same community and we're all working towards the same goal. And that's exactly why we're doing this. So,
how would you like to be a car dealer today?
hey, I still think we're in the best industry in the world. It's a great place to be. It's a great community, great people. You cannot beat it.
Steve, I just like to point out the article in Home News Now that came out today that your dad wrote about the importance of the sales rep. It's a great article. It really puts the case well for what a good rep does today. I encourage everyone here to read it and pass it along to your fellow reps. It really encapsulates well sort of where we stand today as an industry and why the reps are more important than ever. And I want to thank your dad for that, but I also think as a something that IFRA needs to continue to do, we should probably read it to ourselves at least once a week and pass it around to our fellow reps in our lines and fellow reps that we work with in our territories, because it really is an important reminder. We need to live up to the standards your dad describes.
No, thank you for calling that out. You're right.
Indeed.
Well, look, gentlemen, I think we've taken up enough of your time. I'm sure you'd rather most of you are on the road, probably on the way to a sales call. So I will say thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time to join us today and for sharing those best practices, because you're right. That's why we do this. This is the biggest collective of wisdom and experience in our industry. It's right here in our group and on these calls. So I appreciate everyone's time today. I'll get this posted on the website here shortly, and we'll have another one in about a month. So thank you again. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day, great weekend, happy selling. And I'm sure we'll be seeing some of y'all in Atlanta soon, and followed by Las Vegas in about a month. So
Yes.
Safe travels, and thank you again.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Steve.
it, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. See
All
ya.
right, everyone take care.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks.